Hello and welcome to Into the Inbox, presented by your friendly email and CRM expert, Nick Crawford. Each week, we review a marketing email, looking at some key areas including subject line, layout, and content, picking out the good, the okay, and the not so brilliant to help us improve our own emails in the future. So join Nick as we dive into the inbox.
Hello and welcome. Today we're going to be looking at an email from the fashion retailer Joules. So let's take a start by looking at the subject line and the pre-header and see if that's likely to have motivated someone to have opened the email at all. So they've definitely gone for an intrigue approach, really short, snappy, 3-word subject line, keep it neutral. I don't know what neutral means in this context. So definitely nothing here that's leading me to or explaining what the content might be. And that's reinforced with the pre-header, discover our new collection of neutrals and build a love forever wardrobe. So again, nothing here that actually explains or gives any information away about the content, really relying on a love of Joules or an intrigue, a question mark that's been raised to open that email. I do think using neutral twice doesn't help, and really balancing perhaps the intrigue of the subject line with a pre-header that was a little bit more descriptive might well have motivated a few more people to go, oh, actually this will be of interest to me, and therefore I am going to open up this email. So let's click into the email and take a first look in desktop view. So we're greeted with this really large hero image, clearly showing the products. We've got a couple of call to actions taking our attention, as well as intro copy. And then the email splits into 3 further sections. We've got some secondary product shots, both of a main image and these individual items that you can click directly through to. And then we've got this accessories section with its own call to action button. And then we finish off with further call to action buttons, social icons, and then the footer itself. Looking at the mobile view, we've got a couple of key considerations. Mobile is the primary view, it's the way that most people view their emails, and therefore we need to be able to ensure that the view that you're getting mobile is the optimal that it can be, and then make sure that it works in desktop. So you can see that with this headline copy, it's clearly responsive, but what we're finding with that narrower screen is that we've now ended up with this orphan word sitting on the second line. That's definitely the view that I got in a Pixel 7 mobile phone view. So what we could have done here was actually reduce or increase the word count so that we either avoided that happening or that we had more than one word sitting on that second line in a narrower view. Our call to action buttons stack, so they make it nice and clear to be able to use in the mobile view. Interestingly, the 4 grid of products doesn't stack, that's being kept as a 4, although they are clear enough as images to be able to see in this reduced view. What we can see though is that with these call to action copy links that we get this orphaning also happening with the chevron. So I would have suggested that actually the better approach here would have been use specific call to action buttons which would have protected that in the mobile view. And then we've got a continuing stack of our call to action buttons. This does start to then make this quite a long section. So a consideration here might have been to potentially hide some of these, or when we get to look at content, actually do we need both the menu at the top as well as those call to actions at the bottom. Let's have a look at the content now. So the first thing that really catches your eye from this email is this main hero image. Really large, really bold, beautiful photography. But my first impression is that this email then is trying to sell me the raincoat. Again, if we take it in context of the subject line and keep it neutral, I've got no clues within that subject line or pre-header as to what it's about. and I've then got 4 image shots, all seem to be centered around the raincoat. So if I wasn't in the market for that, then maybe I would dismiss the email at this point because I've got no reason to look any further. I'm certainly not going to read the copy straight away. I would scan through. I've got all those beautiful images to see first. It's only when I come back to that copy that it begins to make sense in terms of the neutral color palette and how you can put that together as a capsule piece. The secondary consideration then is really around these accessories. Compared to the other images, these seem a little weak. They don't really hold their own in the same kind of way. I definitely have suggested putting in some animated GIFs here, giving some rotation, some movement to try and make more of these kind of images. Also have some individual product shots just rotating around to give me a little bit more. We talked about these call to action buttons at the bottom and in the mobile view, how they stack and actually give you quite a long email. I would question whether you need those and the top menu that you've got as well. Definitely having a secondary set of menus or call to action buttons is worthwhile. If the immediate content doesn't grab your attention, you've got a way of using the email to click through to those key areas of the website. But having both of them seems a little bit overkill. About 1 in 4, 1 in 5 of your readers will be using dark mode, so it's an important consideration just to check how your email looks in that particular way. The nice simple layout for this email means it works pretty well. A couple of things I'd consider. One is that the call to action buttons, the framing of that weakens slightly against that very pale white box on the dark background. The accessories images, the grey that blended into the light mode view really stands out far more in terms of this email. And then the social icons block white, which I don't know if it's intentional or not, but stands out as different amongst the rest of the email. 3 takeaways then from our view of today's email. If you're going to use intrigue in your subject line, then make sure that the pre-header gives a little bit more information to motivate that open. Use it to provide a summary of the content and the value of opening. For your hero images, because they're the first thing that's seen, they're the first thing that the brain processes, and they set the expectations for what the email is about, make sure that those images tell as much of a story as possible, reinforced by the choice of your headline and your summary text. And finally, with mobile view being the primary view, make sure that every element works as a priority in that view and that your lines and your elements don't wrap where you don't want them to. I've been Nick Crawford. Thank you so much for joining me, and I'll see you next week as we go into the inbox.